Hi Krishna, it's good to have you with us. And for everybody, he's a candidate at Masters Union of School of Business. He's a former senior manager of investment and founding team of BHIVE Alts. He is an alumni of Stoa School and co-founder at Common Folks. So, is there something else that you would like up to your introduction?
Yeah, no, thanks. That is, I think, pretty much it covers everything. So I primarily began my career in BHIVE, and before that, did have a stint in investment banking as well. I worked in banking for about 6 to 8 months. So primarily at that stage, I was working with a lot of founders. So that is when I actually made the decision to pivot to work in a startup. So
Okay,
that is just one thing I would like to add.
that's great. That's great. So,
Thank you.
we all know your journey as both career, startup, and education. So, we'll be diving deep into the startup ecosystem, right? So, starting off, you've already completed STOA's MBA, and now you're an MBA candidate at Masters Union School of Business, and both of these are prestigious brands. When we look at the revolution of higher studies, right? So, for someone who's
Hmm.
willing to learn at such programs, but is in a dilemma, what would you suggest when it comes to learning over the pedigree? And this institution is recently opened, right? It does not have a long enough alumni base, and there is this second thought of not getting into an IIM stamp, which is like really famous in this Indian education system. So how would you convey your thoughts about learning over the pedigree?
So one thing is, see, while I was in the working in the startup ecosystem, I have interacted with a lot of people from very pedigree colleges, like maybe let it be the IIMs, let it be the ISPs, and even the other colleges in India. And I've seen, like, even when I used to do my research, I used to have it in mind that I will probably move on from my MBA someday to try and upskill and get that a good profile someday. But I saw that the curriculum that these guys were offering were very traditional in nature. Now, I was in St. Joseph's College of Commerce in Bangalore, which again, brand value is good. But the curriculum, I can say, I cannot really say I've learned anything much. I have learned whatever I've learned my majority from what I have done at my career at BHIVE Alts. So I didn't want to go for a very traditional type of a curriculum. I, of course, there was a certain risk that I did take, but I wanted to take something where I'm actually able to apply what I'm learning. And STOA, for example, is something that it was a weekend MBA bootcamp. Now, already in the past 2 years, they've done about 14 cohorts, almost 14 cohorts. And I was actually able to understand how different working profession. Now, somebody age of 21 years is there, somebody who is even 40 years old is there. So I never wanted to just chase the brand value. I just wanted to see what impact it would have. And of course, alumni is not there. But now when you say even the pedigree colleges, like say even ISB is funded by promoters of a very big company. When they started also, it took some time for brand value to be for to happen for everybody. Now, Masters Union, now I will be joining the fourth cohort. And I've seen in the past three cohorts, they've already been able to crack certain roles in every industry. They're able to allow people to start their own startups. So I actually never wanted to choose a very traditional MBA. I wanted to be something where I actually learn business by actually doing it over there. So that's the reason I chose Toha, and naturally now I'm going to Masters Union.
That's really great. Actually, it's so proud of, it's so proud to see these young people just choosing a pedigree, choosing learning over the pedigree colleges, and, not just getting stuck over the stamp of, IIM or something.
Yeah, true. See that those colleges will always stay one of the greatest colleges. Like no
Yeah,
matter what, they are there for 50 years plus. There's no
definitely.
comparison. But these colleges is what is making it more alternative nature, because now how will Indian education move on to the next level? Because frankly, the curriculum, like if I compare it to my undergraduation, the same curriculum in these MBA colleges is a little more advanced. But while it's in a college like Masters Union, whatever it is, you actually finish your term, they make you do a real life business project. You actually have to get some type of revenue. You'll have a drop shipping project. Then you'll have a venture initiation project. You have to raise some funds from a bunch of angel investors. So I don't see a lot of colleges doing this, but a college like this is trying to change the education system.
That's really nice. That's really nice. Also, one thing that you joined BWay all straight after the college. For those
BHIVE.
of who, yeah, okay. Sorry. So, for those of who you don't know, it's a fintech platform that helps users to invest in real estate, right? So, you mentioned how you saw the journey through this 10 lakh to 100 crore period, right? So, can you share with us what was it about, how you contributed it to the growth, and what was your part, concerning the sales and networking and branding and growth? So let's focus on sales and networking ones, right?
Okay, sure. So I essentially, that's what I mentioned, since I was in investment banking before and I wanted to make a pivot to a startup. So I primarily wanted to work in the founder's office and like try and drive things from the start in all initiatives. So when I joined BHIVE, I was actually the third employee, and this was back in April 21, and we were just figuring things out when pandemic had just happened, and it was basically the second wave of COVID and all of that. So it was the right time to basically create a new asset class as well. So while sales was one of the most important thing, we had to essentially understand what the people are looking for in the market, and we were basically spending the initial time only structuring how we can create the brand awareness, because people were skeptical to put their money even in public markets. But we made it simple. That see, we have already been into the co-working center for the last 8 years, so we are going to essentially use that credibility for people to invest into our co-working centers, and that is when credibility started building. Now, I think around the month of April end or something is when we got the first 10 lakh investment, because our minimum investment was rupees 10 lakhs. And slowly people started understanding that, see, now co-working center like this, people will never leave it. Even in the peak pandemic time, we did not lose any client. Though there was a certain cut in the rental, people still knew that, okay, I'm paying you 5,000, 6,000 rupees per seat. I'm not going to really lose anything. There was a certain cut, and then we started slowly developing it. Over the course of 2 years, what we understood is that people have been looking for alternative investments. It's just that there was not enough opportunities in India. See, traditionally, yeah, like even you'll be aware, traditionally alternative investments, people think of it as alternative investment funds, venture capital, but that is only accessible to institutional quality. For retail investors, there was not many options, to be honest. Like real estate, residential real estate has been there on for a long time, but you need to at least minimum invest 60 to 70 lakhs, put additional money to refurbish the apartment. But here at a ticket size of 10 lakhs, we are actually able to get a return of say 14 to 15% per annum as well. So we first spent the first 6 months to actually understand what people are looking for. When the credibility came, that is when we started increasing our marketing budget. Now, as I left the organization about 2 weeks back, I've seen we have close overall, we have about 30,000 active users and about 1,500 investors who have been onboarded. So it's been a good journey because I literally saw it going from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
And a lot of alternative investments have come up since then, because branding has been the number one thing that we used to focus on. Like whenever we used to launch a property, we used to get a lot of celebrities have come and launched the properties. Like we've had Mo Chuan come, we've had Shan come for the launch of these properties. So a lot of these people, it basically helps create brand awareness that, okay, a company like this is able to get these prominent stars also. Because returns aside, they also want to know what the company is doing outside the company also.
Yeah.
So that really helped, and it's a good industry. The industry is growing. Like in this industry alone, there's real estate, there is asset leasing, there is multiple other avenues which is there. But real estate has the highest scope from what we have seen
There's
at BHIVE.
diversity actually.
Yeah, correct. Because like real estate, people actually want to put more money, but not everybody wants to put such a high ticket size.
Definitely.
Yeah, but with respect to the networking, what I can say is that we've had really good people onboarded. We've had people who probably invested like tickets of 10 lakhs, people who have invested 2 crores as well. Idea is they want a passive income. Now, one of our youngest investors was about 28 years old, and one of our oldest investors was about 75 years old. So it's a very diverse range of investors.
Yeah. Great. So you covered sales, networking, branding, and growth really well. One of the challenges that we all see in this fintech sector is trust. So BHIVE's commendable presence has been for long, but BHIVE Alts was comparatively new, right? So how did you and the team overcome this issue? When we talk about this under promise and over delivery. Also, okay, let's just begin with this. When we talk about under promise and over delivery.
So I think the number one thing I would like to cover here is, see, when essentially we started, we didn't really want to give them really high expectations on what we're going to do. Now, today you invest into a public market, what I can say is that you'll obviously have a very detailed investment analysis, like, okay, this is going to be a CAGR, this will be your IRR, this will be optimization. And we just took the first 10 lakh in it. All we wanted to say is that, see, now today, our co-working business is running on a very flexible model. Somebody can come and invest even 6,000, pay 6,000 rupees per seat, and give him credibility that, okay, see, BHIVE has about 10 centers. 10 centers is when I joined, but as of now, BHIVE has 22 centers in Bangalore. So we just wanted to show them that, see, we are using the money to basically use it for fit outs, architectural fit out, and all of that. Because what BHIVE does is, we'll pick up a ready to move in building. We do not get into the construction part of it. And when that essentially happens, it's going to be utilized to make the center ready. And then within 2-3 months, we'll probably make the center like about 50% occupancy. So we just wanted to make them understand, like say a retail investor is investing that time, that's what he's going to get. Essentially, what we had to keep very transparent is that every 10th of the month he gets his payout bank on time. Second thing is he gets his monthly reports, and the agreements whichever he signs is coming to him on time. So that transparency is shown that okay, early on the company is able to be transparent within these three things. Because actually, what was surprising is that people came and told us that what happens is people we don't get a payout for the first 2 months and all of that. But
That's a real
one
concern,
thing we have
right?
said, yeah, yeah. But from the time I was there, it was not a single time we defaulted the payments. See, payments when they happens at delivery and say it's a bank holiday, it's a Sunday, some things like that. So we do it before or after, and we understood that they didn't want that to get delayed. So that was something that we kept as a checklist, and they were happy. That's the main reason we were able to get a big loyalty program also. Loyalty program in the sense people ended up referring other people, friends, family, and all of that.
Yeah, the loop that started to begin.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it continues. Like that loyalty program is there in mostly every investment. So yeah, that is
Um,
I think how we can say covered under promise.
so as you discussed about the loop, so like, would you like to talk about, the targeted campaigns? What was your target audience, and the feedback loops that happened? You talked about the reference loops, right? So let's talk about the review and feedback loops.
Okay. So in terms of this, I think number one, the targeted audience is something that we initially were trying to figure out. Is let's see, when we just started, we as a company also thought we will target LinkedIn, where we will actually be able to get business professionals, corporates who are like CXOs of companies, and we'll actually be successful on LinkedIn. But to our surprise, when we did a Facebook campaign, we were more successful in the Facebook campaign, and that is what everybody in the sector is doing. So we do not have much of a impact in LinkedIn, but Facebook and Instagram is what has actually helped us get a huge amount of leads today, because there essentially is where people are scrolling 24/7. People at work, people on the way, they are scrolling through. And what happens is that the keywords that they are using is basically helping us target these people. Now, example, majority of the keywords that people look is they look for passive income, they look for ownership in real estate. So we were basically able to target people from the age of 25 to the age of 70 who were looking for alternative passive income. And the Google ads also that we were using essentially helped us in achieving this, because like now majority of the people is come through that. The maybe I would say out of that entire bunch, 20% would have come through organic search. Now people are looking for that, it redirects them to our website. But the primary age group is 25 to 75, wherein some of them are working people, some of them have their own businesses, and some of them are like probably just have money lying in the fixed deposit and they want to actually make more money out of it. I think basically we had a wide range of people. In fact, we had some of the people, some gentlemen have even put some investments in their dad's name, children's name. So we've actually been able to cover different classes of people who were
Yeah,
there.
you covered a broad area. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So on that
correct.
note, you work closely with Beehive's founder Sheshrao Paplikar sir, who these young minds have heard about, and he's an inspirational model for them. So his way was to start small and iterate through the journey and create unconventional impacts. So the question that we got on our community post is that while working with him, how did you feel? How he analyzed his bad decisions, and how he pivoted with the intuition and data on a smaller or larger decision base.
Okay. So yeah, working with him was really nice. I was actually first unable to work with the founder and understand how a founder really thinks, because when I was first initially I was working in the founder's office before I ended up heading the sales team at BHIVE Alts. But what I can say is that initially when we were just trying to understand how the market is reacting to certain things, we actually had to take a back step and understand how what exactly investors are looking at that stage. Because when we initially started, we were doing a completely different model. Example, we were doing a something called a revenue share model, wherein people were getting the returns based on, example, the center's occupancy. But then as we started deep diving and understanding, we were like, see, now post the pandemic, people are already skeptical on the returns they're getting. Now, even today, mutual funds or whatever it is not exactly at the higher, most best average. Example, even my own portfolio has taken a little hit on it. But then we wanted to give these investors a fixed return model. So I wouldn't say we completely changed the business model here, but we just tried to focus it on one array, which is to focus it on fixed return investments. And this was one thing which essentially we had to brainstorm with the entire management. Sheshra Papikar also was involved in this. And we essentially completely changed it from moving from a revenue share type of thing to a fixed return model. And it worked well, because this is something that we actually had to take a step, because a lot of people are doing fixed return models in the market. But revenue share people in co-working, not many are there. But we thought, okay, let's just focus on one type of thing, which will also help us to get more clients on board. And taking that in consideration, the other things also that we have essentially brainstormed together is like basically what type of transparency the investor expects. Like example, we set up the process in terms of how a customer is going to be onboarded. For example, you onboard a customer, he gets a certain welcome call, he gets his agreements within the span of 2-3 days. So you have a direct account manager and you have your investment sales manager who's spoken to you. So a lot of these things helped us to give us a more transparent approach to the investor who's being onboarded. Because today he's investing 10 lakhs with us. He also wants a very smooth process. So yeah, these are some of the things that did help.
Okay. So you created the whole process and this whole chain. Yeah.
Yeah,
This is
correct. That's right.
great. Yeah. Many youngsters are actually, wowed by the investment sector these days because of, like how you already told, they need a, secondary income source, which is a little reliable and something. So like, the approach is basically those people who are, without an MBA, who have not done MBA and who are not an MBA candidate. How do they approach the investment banking internships or the investment banking sector? Or, what are the genuine challenges and the required upskilling that is needed for, just stepping into this investment sector?
Okay. See, so in investment banking is something like I primarily knew back in college. I wanted to at least get my hands dirty with the sector and see how actually if I'll be able to stay in the sector for a long time. And I think the number one thing is you have to reach out to cold reach out to people on LinkedIn. Without that, it's a very difficult sector to break into. Especially investment banking is like a sector, like it's a very small sector. Maximum say 2,000 people work in the sector in India who do the big business deals in India, all the fundraisers of your top startups. So you have to reach out to, let it be a HR, let it be a senior associate, let it be a vice president. You have to bombard the LinkedIns to try and see whether you have a chance to get into it. I mean, that's one of the ways I also cracked to get my investor banking internships and the full-time role as well. Along with that, the skill sets you need to work on is you have to be very prompt with your basic corporate finance right from the beginning. Like something like your basic undergraduate degree is not really going to teach you that. Now, say if you join a bigger firm, like a firm which has a proper learning team, learning and development team, when you get onboarded, you will have a chance to learn. But if you join a boutique investment banking firm, they will expect you to pick up things from day one. So it gets very hard to learn all these things. I did face that issue. Like my firm had about 10 to 12 people, and there were some of the concepts which primarily I had not given much focus in college. So I had to pick it up at work. But if you're able to do these things over the course of college, let it be financial modeling, working on pitch decks, like working on teasers, like investment teasers, that will be very handy. Because once you are only strong with your technical skills, that is when you can focus on your soft skills, that is going and raising the money for, say, a company. But I feel a lot of colleges are not really focusing on that. They have to focus on these 2-3 hard elements, because cracking IB role is not easy, but getting into IB is what allowed me to make my pivot to BHIVE Alts, because I knew I wanted to work in a startup at that stage.
And these colleges are focusing more on theory and, not so practical approach and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
That's
also,
how
for the correct, these soft skills. So how to choose the right workplace to work where you can, upgrade yourself and where you can become the best version of yourself, and regarding the career also.
that's also coming to workplace. I just touched upon that. See, now if you choose a if you're able to get lucky enough to get in place in a big firm, which say has a learning and development team, you have a proper onboarding, you have associates who will train you on how things are done. Then you only after 1 month you are going to get involved into a deal. There, your chance of working on soft skills is a little higher, because you will have actual time, you'll have a team designated to teach you these things. But if it's a smaller boutique investment banking firm or a boutique firm, they have at the most 8 to 10 people, and they will ideally be working on 4-5 deals at the same time. Probably one will be a fundraiser of say $40 million, one will be maybe a smaller one. So there's no time that the team has to teach you. Okay, this is how these things are done. You have to pick it up. So I feel if you, given how my history went, I would say choose a firm where at least you have the bandwidth to learn these things. If you have not learned these things in college, like if you are not very well versed with finance concepts, financial modeling, and all of that, then you should definitely pick a firm where you think you'll have time to learn all these things, not
Okay,
pick up things
so
from day one. Yeah, it should not be overwhelming for you as an individual.
yeah, learning should be the process. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, as we all know that you completed your program with STOA while working with BHIVE Alts itself, and which is very cool. So, talking about STOA particularly, how did you find the program? Addressing the experiential learning, which is quite important in the professional career, and self development and the industry exposure.
So STOA was very good. So I'll tell you the interesting story of how I came to know about STOA. This is when I was actually came to know about Masters Union for the first time. So I came to know about Masters Union back in April 2022. That is when the current batch had just the batch of 23 had got placed. So while I was going through Masters Union is when I came across STOA as an MBA bootcamp, which I found interesting because I didn't have plans to leave BHIVE Alts then. I still wanted to stay and do things for the company and
Okay.
upskill at the same time. So I came across it. I just thought, okay, let me find out. And I saw it was a big exposure to the startup ecosystem. It had access to like good case studies. It had access to uh, placements of other startups as well. Even though I was not looking to shift my company, I thought, okay, never know, it can come handy someday in life. And the learning was good because again, here there was a cohort of say about 150 to 160 people, and they were like people from different backgrounds again. Somebody was doing investment banking, somebody was doing HR or marketing. There were people from my background also in the investment, like alternative investment sector. It was good to connect with different things. And we were put in groups of 4 to 5 where we had to actually work on case studies, we had to work on business problems, and we had to address it to the management of STOA. So it was good. We had one case study on one of Netflix's subscription issue. We had another case study on financial modeling for a restaurant. So it was actually working on business problems with the real team, and learning was good. I mean, I also tried to incorporate some of the things that work because there was a good amount of sales strategy which was involved over here. Macy's were there, like basically mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. Those concepts I tried to use it at work, and it was good because the learning was something you can learn from. You can learn a lot from your peers as well.
Practical learning is always really fun and engaging.
Yeah, correct. So it was good.
Yeah. So discussing about how were you able to, balance between learning and a rather intense job role when students struggle to manage, just internships and college curriculum. It becomes so exhausting and, overwhelming at some points. So any fundas or tips that you want to share when we focus on, managing the expectations at workplace, because you have certain deadlines and the employers, expect something from you. So how do you manage that, and how do you manage, the learning between completing the work at the same time? So fast learning methods.
Yeah, I feel this was very interesting because when I just came across STOA, so I was working Monday to Saturday, and since my courses were my STOA classes were on Saturday and Sunday, so I told my manager that see I'm planning to do this weekend a day program. So if you don't mind Saturday, if I can leave a bit early because my classes used to start around 4 to 6 in the evening, and Sundays it was 12 to 1. So ideally Saturdays used to be a half day. We used to wind up by 3 to 4, but I had to get home and log into my laptop and all of that. So I told him,
Yeah,
don't worry, I told him work-wise, you don't have to worry. I'll make sure I can do 6 days of work in 5 days. Main reason is, see, I was already a senior guy in the system, and like most of the things I had helped set up. So I never wanted anything to come in the way of work. And he trusted me blindly, and whatever it is, everything went smooth. What mainly I would say in the balance thing is that when work used to get over, say on a Monday, Tuesday, I had my weekly assignments. Say on a Wednesday and Friday, I had 2 submissions. That is something that I had to ensure I get it done, say by 10 p.m. that night. So maybe those extra 2 days where we would have had some time to chill, hang out with some friends, I had to cut back a little bit during that time because I had to finish those assignments. Now I got what was it? I got 85% of the required score in STOA, and it's because of these assignments which I did over the course of 6 months. Because if I missed it in the beginning, then it's very overwhelming to finish it again. But it was not very hard, I would say, for me to balance in terms of work. I just had to ensure that what was happening because there was team management, there was different management meetings, and store other side. But the fact that it was in the weekend and the fact that we had to give only like say 3 to 4 hours over Monday to Friday, it was workable. But I would just recommend like if somebody who's actually picking up something like this, you have to prioritize. Like see, work is something where you are doing that every day. So you should not let that get affected because of some program like this. Because you've got an exemption also from your workplace. So you should not let it affect. So that is one thing that will also help individuals, take I can upskill at the same time at working.
yeah. The only way out of this is, just to work hard and hustle.
Yeah, true. That is
There's
there.
no easy way actually. So you mentioned how going through the curriculum of Masters Union made you decide that you wish to be a part of the program, and it was quite practical and pragmatic, and it was related to the real world. So for youngsters willing to do their MBA and looking forward to options, how do you suggest one should approach the evaluation of courses and the outcomes from an MBA? What to expect out of an MBA, and how to evaluate the courses, and just decide if we'll be able to manage, or this is not for us, or this is for us. Like, what are your views about that?
Okay. So I'll just give a flashback of this. So like when I also primarily was planning to do my MBA, I really had kept my option to go to Europe because I wanted a global exposure. I wanted to do like a MSc in management in Europe and like come back because I thought I've always been in India. It will be a good chance to have a global exposure on things. And curriculum again, if I have to really talk about the curriculum, it is like a very simple one. They have your basic business concepts. They have an internship, nothing too fancy. But when I came across Masters Union, I was already working in the startup ecosystem for like about a year and a half. So looking at that, I understood that this fits right in with what I'm doing at work. So what individuals need to see is whether the current industry or work profile they are in, whether they want to do that for the longer run. Now, the MBA should help you give you that push. Like say you're a senior manager over here, you do an MBA and you want to stay in the industry, you can at least get a certain better designation, better position in that particular company. Because people need to see themselves doing that real life projects. Now, suppose somebody is like all theory, he can do any other MBA in India. There's no problem. But if you really want to move out of your comfort zone, do real business projects, case studies, then you need to pick up something like this. Because when I saw Masters Union, it was the like two batches were over, and I checked out the placement report, and given it was new, I had my apprehensions. So I spoke to at least 25 to 30 seniors, like over the entire batch, like to understand how was they learning, why did they choose Masters Union, and overall I got a very good feedback. I even set up a call with the director, and I knew that see because I'm in the startup ecosystem, I wouldn't make a pivot from this. It's always going to be in this ecosystem. And having said that, I was able to understand okay, this is what essentially I can help focus on my long-term career goals. But
Yeah,
just
so
to
that
cover on
was
what individuals
great.
can expect from an MBA is that yeah, good.
No, no, please, please, please.
No, that's what. So individuals should definitely keep in consideration what they want from an MBA. See, while everyone is going to want the placements and all of that, it's very, very important to focus on the learning. I mean, today even I'm joining Masters Union, I'm just trying to understand what placements. But talking from seniors, one thing you will always get to hear is that focus on the learning, not focus on the placements from day one. Because if you choose a course and your vision aligns with what the college has to offer, then you will naturally become more upskilled by the time the course is over, and you will be able to fetch the right job. So, I mean,
Yeah,
that's exactly what will happen.
learning is what bags you, placement and whatever you need. It's just, bagging the skills during the learning
Yeah,
process.
that's true.
So, lovely to share that you're quite an entrepreneur by your answers, Avita. So started off with the common folk, a community to help the needy. So, you did quite a lot of work during the COVID-19, right? So, how do the social exposure and volunteering help one in, career and professional skills? Also, the better decision making. So, how it, upgraded your professional skills about career and everything, and the individual skills and the personal development about the decision making. So yeah.
So, yeah, to touch upon Common Folk basically just started as an idea with a bunch of our friends. We co founded it together, and we were in the second year of college, and we had a lot of ample time to be honest. Like, had our college was 7 to 12. So, we all wanted to do something back to the society. And simple thing is, we basically just wrote letters, start a community among our own friends, and then we'll see how the word of mouth goes. So basically, we essentially started off with the donation drive of clothes. It was in winter, November 2019 to December, and made a simple Instagram account. We did a lot of word of mouth, and it was very, very fortunate. We had a big community in college. So from the initial 5 founding members, end of the last drive, we were able to get close to 85 volunteers. And again, there was a good impact to this thing as well. Uh, Close to 10,000 people in Bangalore we were able to help. See, in terms of that, see, giving back to society is what we thought is really important because see, today we have not been very active. Like we are very active in college, and now here and there we try and do something. But everyone's stuck in the hustle and bustle of life. But I feel it's important to give back to society, and doing that really helped us also focus on our career on the side. So frankly, we've not been able to take it to where we want to take common core. But I'm sure someday when all of us are little in a more stable position, we also would want to do something more to it. So it really helped us mold some of our skills which we had not really cared about earlier, because social service and giving back is equally important than making money in the account. So
Definitely. Really love the point where you mentioned, between the hustle and bustle, you should give back to the society what we're taking.
yeah.
So we have a lot of community post questions regarding, who seek to sculpt a career path like yours. So to evaluate a fresher or, someone young in the industry, what will be your advice to them to strengthen their case, at cracking a job opportunity when it comes to, courses and certifications, or, case studies, projects and internships, all these, juggling opportunities.
Okay. Yeah, I would definitely recommend that they take part, especially in the college level. They take part in as much as business fest that they can take part in, because that I took part in a lot of these business fests in college, and it really helped me understand. Like I was, even though it was just a business fest, I was actually making an actual business product and I was pitching it to whoever the judges were. So the initial confidence you get back in your college days only, because tomorrow 2 years later, when I was actually talking to investors to talk at BN, it did give me that little flashback that, okay, I was doing this back then, so I can do it now also in the real life scenario. Because you cannot really be a shy, especially when you enter the corporate world, you cannot really be a little shy. You have to be a little open. In terms of the skill sets and the extra projects, see, I would say that if they can pick up some consulting, management consulting cases, demo cases, that really helps, because a lot of people want to pivot in the management consulting today. And if you understand how to solve cases. Now, what is solving cases? Is basically addressing business problems. So it basically gives you a very strategic nature in thinking, along with what I already said earlier, financial modeling, the pitch decks, and all of that. And one thing that will definitely take you a long way is like if you're not scared to talk to people, the art of sales will 100% take you a long way. Any concept that is there, you can pick it up. But knowing how to talk to people about it is very important. So these two, three things, if you do it in the span of your college, do an internship in the middle where you actually want to work in later, you can definitely pick up the right full-time role. Like, frankly, even I had not really focused on my college placements. I all of whatever I've got is through my LinkedIn networking, like cold reaching out to all of the people like that. But that's when you'll actually understand, like, okay, what is your scope in getting a job in the market?
Yeah, actually, you have to stand out apart from the, just depending on your college and just letting the college do
Yeah,
everything. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely, definitely.
Because
So for
LinkedIn
the
networking can take you a long way. Like
true that,
because
true that.
because networking, you just connect with random people. It's just a simple high pleasure connect with you. You don't really know how that guy can help you in the future. So that is one thing I would definitely like to highlight.
Yeah, definitely. So for the young minds who are really enthusiastic and who just want to work on themselves and who are not dependent on college actually. So how do you think the dialogue and the experience based education that we're trying to provide at CoDot can be beneficial to them? So is it setting a realistic inspiration and we bring in people into the pipeline and just for them to become a better mental model for the audience that we have currently. So what do you have to say about this?
I think it's really inspirational and good, because personally, I also spent my college time listening to various podcasts. I've seen podcasts of a lot of co-founders and startup people in the startup ecosystem. Maybe some of the podcasts of people in the investment sector as well. So I've also spent a lot of time in this dialogue-based education, where I also used to try and understand certain things. And I also used to I always feel that podcasts will always help you really understand things from directly from the horse's mouth. So it's good now. That is a different target audience. Maybe they are in the more higher target audience. But now, say this is the target audience where people who are just stepping out of college on college are able to understand firsthand. Now they also have the privilege to even reach out to them on LinkedIn and understand. That's what we do now. Even say maybe first time I heard of say Ankur Warikh also. First thing I did is I checked his LinkedIn out. Obviously, if I send him a message, chances of him replying are less. But say
Definitely.
to motivate the people who are on this podcast, I'm sure some of the people say even somebody reaches out to me. Always happy to help somebody who, if it's in the same sector or whatever it is. So it's important for them also to have awareness of the different sectors, the different jobs that they can take after college.
Yeah, so now you are at a stage where you are a mental model for the young minds, which is, really commendable. And,
Thank
the
you.
last question that we have for this podcast is if you could really travel back in time, to your past days, to your bachelor's college life, what would you do differently in your life when you were in the first year and the final year respectively? So let's just listen about the first year.
I guess first year, maybe given that common folk we started in second year, I would probably wish that we started this in first year. So we would have created a bigger impact for all 3 years of college, because we just got, say, 1 year and then COVID happened. Because the same bunch of my friends were with us. But yeah, we were stuck in a fun of college and partying and all of that. But then I would just say, if that was one thing, we would have created a bigger impact. And if I have to pick up the third year, I would definitely have wished I saw myself working in the startup ecosystem a little longer. Because then I could have probably backtracked certain things in how I can upskill in a better way. Even though I joined whenever I joined, I was able to pay the right price at the right time. It's always better to be more prepared. And it's something I figured out much later. 1 year or close to 1 year after graduating is when I understood I want to work in the startup ecosystem. And maybe I was not very avid about the ecosystem. Maybe I was not tracking a lot of things in the news and things like that. But if I have to change these two things, I would like to highlight these two.
Yeah, actually it's just the universe and the flow, and it just all happens, and obviously with hard work, obviously, but there
True,
is
true.
this, yeah, you just have
No,
to
no matter
work
what,
hard. There is
yeah,
no easy way.
yeah, you can always say it. I wish it went this way or that way, but
Yeah,
essentially you have to focus on the journey. But yeah,
definitely you just have to focus what you're learning in the journey and what you're learning in the course and the program and whatever that you're enrolled in. Definitely.
correct, absolutely.
The thing that you said, that the mind, what you said, that we're taking a lot, we are just stuck in this hustle bustle of life and just not giving enough to the society back. That just stuck in my head. It's really nice.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Is there something that you want to end up to the conclusion?
No, that's what. It's really nice to be part of your platform, CoDot. Even I had seen about you guys earlier, and it's nice that there's a big target audience that who's able to access dialogue-based education, like from people like say even we are probably in the age group of say 21 to 30, and we are the type of people who also want to help the people who are in college to try and pick up the right type of job. So even sometimes people reach out to me on LinkedIn, I'm always happy to help some people, because when say I was just stepping out of college, there were not really many people who approach for any type of thing is a lot. So the fact that there's a certain age group and sector who's actually willing to do these type of things and help people who are in that phase of their career. So suppose I was in that phase of life, somebody was there to help, maybe things could have turned out differently. I don't know. Even though it did go fine, it's always good that we can also access these type of professionals in our life. And I've not seen really a lot of platforms like CodeOut, so that's really nice.
It's really privilege of us also to just have you on the stage and just answer the questions of the young minds and community and help them by ourselves.
Yeah, thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Oh,